I've been told I shouldn't write this or speak this for no other reason than the fact that I am a man. But I can't let that stop me because objection to what I have to say hasn't stopped me before. See, I have a daughter, 3 sisters, a mother, and more female friends than I do males. Over the years, a lot of these friends shed so many tears crying on my shoulder because of how they've been treated. All I've ever done was comfort them when they felt alone and defeated with no intention other than to provide safety. Lately, it has been tugging a little harder at my chest, and it's something I just won't put to rest just because someone tells me it's not my place. So in the face of rules and etiquette, I'll do like I've always done and close my ears to it and speak my truth. I'm not categorizing every lady. Maybe there's no pain to soothe. Maybe some find power in objectification. Fair enough. And this isn't meant for you. I speak only of the ones and about the ones I have had personal relationships with. The ones whose stories I have heard, but also the ones that don't voice it and feel they're alone on this earth with what we call normal. There's this one particular girl. When I first saw her, without even knowing her yet, before she became one of my best friends, I actually saw her. I also saw what was around her. I saw all the eyes that would wander, eyeing her from her legs to her chest, never up past her neck, and then I understood why she carried herself as she did. I couldn't get rid of my disgust of the crusty old men lusting over her. I saw her as she walked, tray in hand, with her head held up, but I noticed her eyes. They were constantly looking down. What's down? Everything is. All that's invisible to the naked eye, a sacred body telling naked lies. No one notices. No one cares. But I do. I saw her. I saw right through. And I'm not talking about her smile. It wasn't her words. What I saw was her being, a part of her that she thinks isn't worth seeing, the part of her that holds all the meaning of who she is. A vision hidden, because what's within, unless it's forbidden, doesn't sell. Makeup on, hair tied back, push-up bra, nails intact. She pulled her shirt lower as she wished it was tighter, in the mirror scowling at that fighter she doesn't see, ignoring that distant, buried plea that's trying so hard to convince her who she is enough. So easily dismissing it as a bluff, not convincing enough, she ignores that inner voice that to her isn't real. Her raw truth has no sex appeal, so it doesn't make her feel worthy. What is it in that place that makes her feel worthy? Is it the dirty old man who placed his grubby hand on the small of her back, grasping her wrist at the risk of losing her tip? She forced a smile as she suddenly pulled away. See, maybe it wasn't one of those times where it wasn't my place, but I asked her, why do you let them treat you that way? She said, it's just another day, it's my job. I wonder if her little girl knows her mother's being robbed of her dignity every day. Her hero, who is in fact a hero, being claimed as an object by zeros, defamed when she's labeled a whore to her face or behind her back, just because she shows a lack of willingness to fully gratify them. The next best way to at least savor the tip and satisfy them, she promptly asked, can I get you another? Game-faced and strong. She is strong. She can't let it get to her. On the sidelines, my eyes pierced him. I wanted to scream, hands off, you fucking predator. That would be bad for business. Here's the thing. I started working in that very same place, and one night I witnessed something, and whether it was my place or not, I wasn't standing down. The predator's eyes moved on to someone else, and she wasn't a waitress. I have a hard time even trying to say this, but with his new prey, I sure as hell wasn't going to bite my tongue that day with what happened next. She was younger, and he caught her mid-text, sending a selfie. He approached her, convincing her he's wealthy, and they should have a night out ending at breakfast on him. What was on him was the fact he solicited someone who was barely out of grade 10. The girl looked like she hardly put down her Barbie, but if he knew, would he care? He did know. And I was right there. After I escorted him out, I pulled her aside and she laughed it off. 15, too young to create that mask that she may drop in front of her face for the rest of her life. living a lie, falsely finding value in devalue. Degrading becomes grading in the highest degree. These degrading words being passed off with attention that's far from free. It creates damaged normality, and morality is either forgotten or made up as we go. Which one is it? None of these so-called men even know what these beautiful souls have to deal with when they get home. I will never forget that day I was awoken by my phone, a friend calling. She was crying, saying she's so tired of being alone. That morning, she was exhausted, so exhausted. The night before, at her front door, she was accosted by her son's daddy. Her ex, he lost it when he demanded sex and she turned him down. She knew a right hook was next and she'd be on the ground, so she faked calling the police and he left. Being on probation, it was probably best that he didn't treat it as an idle threat. Gone, but not without exposing still raw wounds. In her room, she hardly opened her eyes. Her little boy screaming her name. There was no surprise why her face is aged and her body ached. She sighed. In that same sigh, sprinkled with dread, she welcomed her little boy into her bed and she loved it. She really did love it. Her beloved son is the only source that eases her pain. All the names people have called her, the judgments that were passed, broken dreams split at the seams, and the last thing she thought possible was that in this life she'd be so alone. Her mom would phone, letting her know how disappointed she is in her for being a neglectful mother, having her child cared for by another when she goes out and works those long hours. How is she supposed to win when her own mother showers her with shame and guilt? When she used to stay home, her mom would call her lazy, disgracing her for the bed she made and so-called life she built. Or her mother's actual words, failed to build. So she tries to fill that void between loneliness and connection that she longs for every day. Though she knows it, she dives into another playground where predators like to prey. She swipes. For every 20 lefts, there's one, maybe two rights, hopeful. She remains hopeful that she'll find a match leading to a permanent catch who is soulful and whose soul will fill the emptiness she carries within like a 1,000-pound weight. Plagued with constant loneliness, how long will she wait? Trying to find a profile that's genuine while weeding out the shirtless specimens whose words she anticipates. She can already hear the degrading venom man when a man finally messages her respectfully. She responds. But it wasn't long. After she said she was a single mom, he said, "I'm not into that, but on your back you'll be fully satisfied. I'm still down to fuck, no lie, are you?" Unsolicited dick pic next with the next text that came through. She didn't have time to block him, but when she did put the nail in that coffin, she faked a smile, ignoring how worthless that made her feel and made her feel like a pile of trash. But she'd never show it, she'd just flush it. She learned to brush it off and move on, because that's what's normal. And then she rightfully questions, does abnormal exist? And this doesn't even scratch the surface. This is only a few stories among many. This doesn't even come close to serving the larger purpose. If there is anything I could say to these predators right now, it's this. You don't like me, and I can't stand you. But maybe try to think about it for a second, though it's more than likely not a lesson you care to learn. Can you try to see her through a different lens, as a person, not as your servant? For the first time in your life, maybe a little more observant, without objectifying, rather humanize what you treat as your prey. Are you even capable to deflate the bull-headed ego that defines the part you play? Or do you continue to laugh it off and say, who cares about a trick anyway, your high horse, your labels, the fables you're convinced of, enabled by your entourage, the dirt's never rinsed off your hands? You disgust me, and trust me, you're ugly with the damage you cause. But it's not all your fault, it's everyone who lets this happen and treats it as normality every day. The people who let you get away with being that ugly. To the lovely women who know me and have opened up about it, you know who you are. To the women who live this or similar things and don't voice it but still feel it. Wear what you want, be what you want, don't conceal it. You're a true being, your spirit, don't let them steal it. Whatever that looks like for you, do it for you and not them, because it's them who so easily forget that it was a woman who carried us, all of us. Every so-called man that has violated her, every womanizer that has annihilated her by shattering her worth with their hands or the words, while she's constantly in search for a voice that's not heard. The ones that are worth it, the ones she deserves, hear her, see her, and know she's a soldier. Be what you desire, not an object of desire. With love.